you know, don't mind me just trying to cast some TVZ. I know you didn't want to. It's okay, Jess. I'm okay.
Thank you.
I'll get over it.
Yeah. Okay. And we got Team Blazers, Blue Protoss, Krystianer in the bottom left.
In the top right-hand side, we have got the red Protoss player from Psystorm Gaming. It is Gerald.
I definitely made the most active ESL chat ever. So people get really, really passionate about chocolate.
Really?
People are really still talking about chocolate. They say that I need to try better chocolate, that my s'mores are bad. You know, then they get into their own arguments about which European chocolate's better, Lindt versus Marabou versus I don't know what else. Thing is,
you guys want to send us chocolate? I'm down.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'd actually much prefer getting a bunch of chocolate than getting a bunch of licorice flavored stuff, which is what I got in Sweden.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't even really like chocolate, so that's kind of the weird secret here. Is I don't really care about it. But on s'mores, I feel like it's like it doesn't matter. Like as long as it's chocolatey, but whatever.
You know, I'd say that I'm not a big fan of chocolate either. But then when I do have chocolate, like I don't like go out and like specifically buy chocolate. But if I have chocolate like around me, I can't get my hands off it. So maybe I do like chocolate.
It's one of those foods for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I think I definitely like some chocolate every now and again, of course. And there's definitely some flavor, like sea salt and almonds. It's the best. That's the best one. But I don't usually get in these very difficult conversations. The king of chocolate is not something I really actually care about. But anyways, we got a PvP. It is, you know, as usual, PvP does have a lot of important moments, even if it doesn't look like a lot of things are happening. But with a couple of stalkers on the way out for both of them, this could actually lead into something kind of cool, kind of micro-intensive, or it could just go into sentries afterwards and not really be that exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot depends on these first few units. We are going to drop a Stargate as Krystianer, and Gerald is just going to add one more Stalker for now and make it 2. So he will maybe get a little bit aggressive with that Stalker count early. He's going to have a lot of them, and that also bodes well for being able to fight against a Stargate opener, because now you've got more Stalkers to split between bases potentially as well. Obviously, it still depends if you're back at home. He's actually going to go Stargate himself, and we'll see just what kind of route this Stargate versus Stargate is going to be taking.
Yeah, this can cause some awkwardness. More often than not, causes some awkwardness, actually. I can't believe that they're still going into... Like, I feel like they're both trying to trick each other out by going for Stalkers into Stargate. So they're thinking the same thing, which means we don't have any sentries, right? We don't have any sentries to actually do any scouting. You're not gonna actually know what's on the way, and as such, we could see the Oracle versus Oracle, which I mean, I feel like one of them should at least get a shield battery, just in case shield battery.
If neither of them get a just in case shield battery and one Oracle shreds both mineral lines, then I already forgive you for the PvP, because then it's gonna be really fun.
Exactly. All right, there is a just in case. No, is it blocking out the probe? Wait, what are they even blocking out? Yeah, I just blocked out the probe, actually. So, JK, that is not the shield battery I was expecting. Krystianer is getting the appropriate shield battery. And you know what? I think Gerald might have meant to, but then his probe circled around. So his shield battery is actually later. That probe is just in the mineral line doing absolutely nothing. This Oracle from Krystianer, if he uses it immediately, is going to get a lot of damage done.
Yep, it's going to dive straight on in as well. There's nothing here, and down go some probes, and Gerald is immediately in some trouble. 4 or 5 workers recalling back home, and this Oracle just having a great time. Gets out with a lot of health. They actually took a few final shots, which changed what I was going to say. As the Oracle comes in from Gerald, he's just going to go for the stasis one, which is just going to catch a few probes in the Stalker. Krystianer thought he could kill it. Turns out he couldn't. Wow, at least something there, but obviously he doesn't quite make up. But 7 dead probes.
That is what That is nasty. And it's one of those times in StarCraft 2 where you feel like yelling at units like it's Brood War, where you're just like, what I made it! I made it! You didn't make. Anyways, this is sad for Geralt. I hope people, who watch Artosis appreciated my attempt to mimic him.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, well, you're European, right? So you can't really watch as much Atosis as us North Americans. He does it all the time. It didn't make... and that's what happened to Gerald, I do believe. So he's going to be making a comeback at this point. 7 workers down is not an impossible comeback, but if everything goes right for Krystianer, which, yeah, it looks like it will, even with these Adepts, he should be able to capitalize on a victory here. So far, so good on the micro.
Yeah, just making sure that the Adepts don't do too much. I wonder what Gerald does from here. It's kind of rough, right? You're definitely playing from behind. I know he kind of likes playing a faster Dark Shrine sometimes, but that might just be a little bit too obvious when this has kind of already happened as well. So yeah, it's going to be rough, obviously. Oh, well, that's something at least. He delays the third base, which was going to be quickest. Now he gets a quicker third of his own. And, okay, I mean, he's catching up in probes because obviously the third base isn't up, so they've stopped probing a little bit. And this is the point where you could maybe play catch-up and maybe be kind of back in this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things that can happen in the course of PvP. So, as I said, if everything goes absolutely perfectly for Krystianer, then obviously having a 7-probe lead in a mirror matchup, that's just going to be too far of a lead. But with the Oracle still flying around, with the chance of kind of like, you know, taking the appropriate risks, a bit faster third Nexus, maybe skipping a couple of warpings to get a faster, I don't know, charge or +1. I actually don't have any forges right now. Then suddenly you're back into it. But finally do have a forge. And we do actually have Krystianer being later to it, opting for the faster Robo. But actually be a bit scared about DTs. He could pop out a Warp Prism and try and do some damage, but he's still only on 2 gateways, so that doesn't really line up.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit tough right now as the Stalker's going to move up the right side, going to blink. There goes the Oracle. One final revelation. So the Stalkers will be seen for a few more moments, but not much more. Krystianer just taking that slight worker lead. More Stalkers on the way. And at least Gerald gets a little bit of a faster +1 then. We'll be able to try and maybe get a timing or so with that. Maybe it'll lead to a +2 advantage or so. There's a lot that can happen, like you said before, in this PvP. There's a lot of twists and turns still available.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gerald's gonna actually take this fight, at least try and distract as long as possible, because 2 cheeky Adepts back into, this time, the natural, and there is no units to even try and micro them away, actually kill them. A recall has to be used. These 2 Adepts actually doing great things. They're putting Gerald literally ahead in this game. Finally up in workers. Now he has a bit more of that map control, and that was really well timed too, because apparently a stasis trap had just taken half of Gerald's army. So if Krystianer hadn't had to recall, I don't know what was happening in the middle of the fight because I was watching the Adepts, but it would have been really awkward.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where it's like, oh man, I got caught in the stasis. He gets to start chasing your army, trying to figure out a way to section off those stasis units so you can take advantage of them afterwards. Yeah, it was a really good moment for Gerald to force Krystianer to look back at home, pay attention back over there as we power up into a ton of gates on each side. I mean, the game really has just evened out for the most part. There's a little lead here, a little lead there, right? But for the most part of it, the fights and the engagements and how those are microed is going to be a big determining factor, more so than the early damage dealt.
Right. Especially, I mean, yes, micro, absolutely, but especially when it comes to just taking that position first and foremost, right? Who gets the arc? Who gets their charge lots to actually spill forth, not hit the Archon, not get stuck behind the Stalkers? Who has a shield battery, of course, big one. So while attacking does usually give you the positioning factor, you get to choose kind of where you're attacking, right? Shield battery defense is really, really good. More Adepts! Just trying to be as annoying as possible. You know, eventually this is not worth it, guys. Usually the Adepts do fall off, but this has been what has kept Geralt ahead in probes for the last minute.
Yep, and this little bit of harass just keeps on hitting, keeps on doing good stuff, and you have the Oracle of Krystianer chased down by a Phoenix. It will drop one last revelation as well, and it will force a little bit of action in the top left there as Krystianer is going to come pushing up the right side. He's down on army supply, and he's warping in Zealots as though he believes he's just got enough to go, but I don't think there's any way he breaks Gerald if Gerald sat back on his base. Now Gerald moving forward a little bit, could catch the Prism. What a great start. And now you absolutely want to take this fight and chase as Gerald because there's no reinforcements available. Yeah,
Krystianer had no idea that Gerald was moving out. I mean, neither did Gerald, really. It was just very fortunate for him. Didn't even realize that the army and the War Prism, more specifically, is going to be so far forward. That is potentially game-ending, because as you were pointing out, Krystianer was already behind that army supply. So then losing the units that were in the War Prism, losing any fear as well. That War Prism can at least make Geralt kind of second guess his movement out on the map. Krystianer is now the one that's really dependent on his micro, on a shield battery to help him out. He is building a lot of charge lots, but Gerald's right there with him, plus Archons. And Archons are a really big difference between the two armies.
Yep, I'm just going to see that Zealot Stalker sitting on the watchtower. Gerald just going to keep on teching it up. More Archons coming through. His own Prism on the way, in fact. And he will have a slight lead on +2. If you can manipulate a fight to happen when he's got that 20-30 second lead on +2, that could help out a lot as well. If he's got that little bit of an army supply lead still, plus a +2 lead, it can overcome a defensive advantage. But, I mean, just no map control from Krystianer. He's got no idea that this is a Robo that's just, this army is just going to come through and hit that Robo on the natural. And, well, does Gerald want to stick around? Maybe not. He is going to start backing it up. Honestly, it's a weird place to get caught in.
It is. It is. His army is not bad at all, but it was not in the correct order, so that's why you have to evacuate. Again, charge lots can be awkward. Archon's not actually on the front lines. A lot worse if they aren't. Ooh, a lot of blinking going on. They both want to engage. Who's going to come out on top? The War Prism of Gerald is saved, but it looks like the rest of the fight did not go so well for him. Definitely needs the reinforcing charge lots. +2 does finish for this fight, but Gerald does not have the confidence. He doesn't have the numbers currently, so he's got to retreat, and he's going to lose that upgrade lead. He doesn't have his Archons quite ready to go. There is no shield battery at the 4th base, and that is actually very nerve-wracking. Gerald can't hold the line here, and he's going to lose his 4th and find himself behind in this game, which he was up until that point, was winning.
Yeah, I mean, he just needed to get out of there sooner, because his disengage in the end ended up costing him big time. And Krystianer, huge supply lead now, is going to keep on going through. That's the great thing. Krystianer just has no reason to stop with no battery here or anything. There's nothing to really reset him. We kill the Prism, just stop some micro potential as well. He's just going to pull back up, deny this 4th base as he just has more and more coming through. Oh, DTs.
3 observers for Gerald, 0 for Krystianer. Gerald picks up on that work from the defensive DTs, and yeah, exactly. He got the Robo. Now, he doesn't know for sure there's not an observer that was, you know, in surveillance mode somewhere, so he's not going to try and gun it to the other side of the map, but that did just save his life, perhaps only temporarily.
Yeah, that's such a big deal. And, well, we actually are just going to go diving right back in here. These Archons immediately are going to be in some trouble because the DTs are now across the map, right? So, yeah, that's a little bit awkward, and that's going to be a little bit of a shame. Here comes the DT, which is going to find the brand new Robo, but there are cannons up, so defensively, the DT should be kind of dealt with. And this is going to be at least this base going down. Okay.
Yeah, very late on the shield battery recharge, but even then, that was so much firepower. If Krystianer wanted it, he was going to get it. Yeah, Gerald turned the DTs into the Archons, actually, and that was a very big mistake. One, because they weren't enough to build up his army. If 2 Archons was enough to say we're even Stevens, then that would have been a good move, but it wasn't. He actually still needed the DTs to be invisible. 2, the Archons were formed away from the shield battery, so they really weren't, the potentially invincible Archons that they can be. So that was just another big mistake that, yeah, I think is going to, that particular moment won't lose in the game, but that plus a couple other moments, Gerald might just lose here. Shield battery overcharge for this fight, though, is a huge difference. But 4 Archons to 1, although that 1 Archon is being invincible, like I was talking about, finally gets popped. And a disruptor pops out. Oh, hello. Krystianer wasn't expecting that, but he does blink away. He loses the frontline Archons. Does he have enough firepower with the Stalkers, with the Zealots being warped in? I think he just might. He guns for the Immortal. He finds it. The Disruptor next on the hit list, and I don't see another one coming anytime soon. Gerald manages to save it, blinks backwards, knows that if he gets one more shot, maybe he can hold on here. But the second Disruptor is only just now coming out. The first one can be avoided. The Nexus falls once again, and Gerald needs the shot. He doesn't find it. 40 supply down, losing the probes. I think that's going to be it.
Yeah, I think so too. The problem is the first disruptor is a nice surprise, but once you know there's disruptors, you can play around them a lot more. You can, keep your blink to blink on top or to blink away. Obviously, that doesn't happen the first time that it shows up, but yeah, Krystianer just needs to be maybe a little bit more cautious. This Nexus on the top side goes down again. Here is the disruptor, and it just clips a couple Stalkers. We have another one available, but blink should be on cooldown. So that was Krystianer actually getting a little bit too far forwards. I mean, Disruptor's definitely making something out of this, but shouldn't be enough to turn it around for Gerald, who's only on 2 bases. At this point, his income is obviously very minimal, and he's not really going to be able to get anything done.
No doubt a frustrating loss. He knew that he was in a good position up until that kind of fatal attack, I guess, around what would have been Krystianer's other 4th. And on the long retreats, he lost way too much. He had also, yes, started to invest into disruptors, so that was also some change missing from more reinforcements. And, you know, frankly, he didn't abuse the DTs long enough or hard enough, which, you know, they were definitely capable of defending another attack. That was when he made them into the Archons. But, yeah, they were a Hail Mary play at that point, and they didn't work out.
It didn't work out. Good try. I mean, great effort from Krystianer to turn it around because Gerald was behind. He fought his way right back into it. And then just that attack, when it felt like Krystianer was completely off guard, Krystianer turned that into something which really was good for him. Got back in that game and is able to take that 1-0 lead. And obviously so important for Krystianer, who has not had a great start to this group, would love to take a win here. And it just keeps things so competitive because it not only puts him up a level towards those playoffs, it brings somebody else down a level from those playoffs as well if he's able to pick up this win. So, and an important player, not someone that's like out of reach, but someone who really should compete with him for those playoff spots. So, yeah, if you can keep this up, it definitely kind of mixes this group up a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be some serious math crunching going on towards the end of next week. If that happens, Gerald, of course, haven't lost the series yet. Could bring it back, put himself in a 2-1 group, and Krystianer at 0-3, and that's... yeah, that would be very, very bad. But yeah, we're not done. And since Geralt did get his moments, a lot of minutes actually, where he was ahead, he knows he can win. But I guess maybe even thinking about the last couple of times they faced off against each other, it seems like Krystianer has a little bit of the edge. Don't know exactly why. I didn't watch those particular games, but could be a 3-loss series here.
We'll find out very soon. Glitter and Ash is the next map, big map, right? Coming in next. Glitter to me is almost like a scaled up version of 2K, right? It's just, it's standard, but just that much bigger. So it becomes that kind of very macro map because of it. And that maybe means that some of these kind of swinging fights don't turn out to be as so swinging, or maybe people can't find those chances to move on in and attack each other. And that could, of course, lead us to some longer games and some later game scenarios in this PvP. We'll see what ends up happening. Of course, the countdown is on. I'll be into game 2 in just a second.
Right. We had the pretty epic Harsum Skillless match on this, right? So it does lend itself to later games in all matchups, just what a size of map's going to do. PvP doesn't really have to take that into consideration for the first 5 minutes. If they want to proxy a bunch of stuff, if they want to warp in a bunch of stuff, they can. But as we were talking about, they're not necessarily the two players that are going to open up like a proxy robo. So usually expect that mid game and thus even the late game. See if that happens here on Glittering Ashes once again. In the top right for Team Blazer, he is Krystianer.
Bottom left, that red Protoss from Team Psystorm Gaming. It is Gerald.
Gerald's really rocking the almost handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
Like not full on, you know, like a 20s caricature, but pretty close.
It's been improving and improving ever since the first time we saw it, or just over the last few seasons in general. It's just been getting better and better, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like his StarCraft skill. It correlates with his beard and his mustache. Clearly. I also kind of wanted to mention this over the last couple of days, but whenever Krystianer's picture has been up, I've always wanted to say, his picture's really cool. Like, it doesn't actually look that much like him because he's not wearing his glasses. That's, you know, big difference. But his picture looks almost action hero-y, where it just like, it's like kind of like the right angle, the right pose, like the right seriousness. And especially when it was up against Gerald, who's just like this fun-loving guy with kind of like a goofy smile. I was like, this is cute. I like this story.
I love it too. 2 gates. Pretty normal start here for game number 2. Nothing going to be too wild apart from a little pylon on the map from Krystianer. His probe's walking away from it, so it seems like just an attempt to fake out Gerald's initial scout.
Yeah, which he did last game. Didn't really discuss it very much because it was a lot more about the other things happening. The amount of stalkers, the lack of scouting, and the potential of Oracle versus Oracle, which did go very well for Krystianer. Geralt, again, with that later shield battery. 99% sure it was definitely meant to make it, and the probe derped out. But He brought it back. He brought it back in a big way. Was certainly winning more towards the mid game and just lost control. Too awkward of an engagement. Going to be a lot more mindful not letting that happen. And Krystianer, you know what? So much success with the Stargate. Let's do it again.
Yeah, just going to drop it down one more time. We'll see what Gerald opts for in game 2 here. A couple Stalkers coming through post to Adepts, and there is a probe moving up that right side as well, so maybe looking to set up a pylon or so, maybe some aggressive intentions. In fact, we got a probe up the top side as well. It's Probe City over here.
Probes on probes on probes, man. They are truly the best worker.
Oh, this one just kind of runs up. Whoa, the Adepts get in. It's maybe a bit distracted with the probe, and all of a sudden these two Adepts are going to get rid of a few probes here, so this is quite nice. We're going to get 4 kills, make it 5. And this last Adept should last long enough to at least make it 6. Unless Shades out and gets the kill.
Perfect timing on that one. The disc hadn't even left her hand, but it still counted in StarCraft. So take it. Gerald will take it. 7 probes killed. Kind of the reverse situation, but this happened even earlier, actually. This is, even earlier than last game's economic damage, which means that it matters a lot more, really. And the 8th probe's going to go down? Nah, not quite.
Not quite, indeed. Here comes our Oracle then to see what damage can be done. On the side of Krystianer, so moving across, and Stalker's actually going to venture out as though to intercept, and they see it. They believe they can get some shots from this side. Well, they get 1 single hit, which isn't great, because now they could have been obviously a bit more over this way to help defend. In the end, it doesn't matter. There's nothing on this natural, and the Oracle will just back it up. And Gerald will be happy to take a much faster blink in this game. That will be his advantage to play forward from over the next little while now.
He is rolling in advantages. He's only a little down in army supply, but that's not really too important right now. Okay, it does get the block on the Adepts, and then can now even kill the Adepts. Yeah, make sure the Sentry doesn't die. The Oracles come in, so this is why the Adepts continued to try and just be a bother. 6 probes go down, actually, but this is really a lot to do with the earlier versus later probe loss thing I was just talking about, which is that Gerald has already gotten a couple of spikes, like 300 minerals, for instance. That's already been invested into what is not the world's fastest blink. It's not so bad that Krystianer just dies, but it is a lot faster than Krystianer's.
Yeah, it's going to give him a lot of opportunity at the very least. But of course, these Oracles moving around will keep some of these Stalkers back at home. You've got to obviously respect those Oracles, right? So that's going to make up for a little bit of the blink timing being so heavily one way over the other. And maybe it's just going to be quite enough. The Oracle's just escaping out up that left side for now as well. So a nice little getaway too.
Gerald, using a hallucination, confirms that he is fine to take this 3rd Nexus. There's no absence of Stalkers. There's no weird number of gateways that are done anyways, 2 more being added on. So there's no kind of like a random attack of, let's say, 10 Stalkers might have been able to stall out this 3rd base. Doesn't have to worry about that. It really is just worrying about the 2 Oracles, which are a big worry. You stop tracking them, you lose another 10 probes. That's very impactful. And so Gerald is trying to be as much on the ball as possible. Almost gets the Oracle, not quite, but is continuing his lead, even when being forced to be defensive. This much faster 3rd Nexus, and perhaps even a faster Forge. Actually goes for a Robo, so almost what happened last time. Krystianer goes for a Robo instead of a Forge, maybe a little afraid that the guy was behind is trying to DT him. And Gerald's kind of the same situation, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely turned into fun PvP. It's kind of funny to see this game kind of be like, hey, what happens if like no one's like super ahead or so, right? Or like, it's a little bit more even from the start. Krystianer is going to launch an attack, but unless, maybe you can hit before that battery's up on the 3rd, and if you can do that, that might be nice. Or you bait into those stasis wards. That's a great plan as well. Good way to utilize those Oracles right now. And if you take that bait as Gerald and you just jump on in there, this could be terrible for you so far. He's not taking it. He's not stretching too far out. Of course, he wants to send me his battery as well. And that might just be working against Krystianer, trying to pull him into those stasis wards. Yeah,
if the shield battery was more forward, so Gerald could be a little more confident, he might have aggressed onto the stasis wraps. And he still does. 4 Stalkers taken out of the equation. That now puts it at 16 or 14 rather for Gerald versus 17. So that is a little sketch. But the shield battery overcharge is pretty powerful. Going to buy him enough time to unlock those Stalkers, warp in a couple more. And, well, now we have Krystianer adding on the Dark Shrine. Gerald's going to have an Observer or two. So this will really have to rely on just catching it out of position.
Yeah. I like that Krystianer's dropping that Dark Shrine, get a bit of aggression in there, perhaps. Would be quite nice and just kind of be annoying. Still has these oracles to draw attention away as well, slip DTs by perhaps. Definitely a lot of possibilities, as he's also just being super active on the map. He is not giving up with these stalkers, and as the oracles do go down, oh my goodness, one of them just survives, but it's actually drawn the stalkers out of the way to let these stalkers maybe do something, but they pull away so quickly. He doesn't believe he truly had an opportunity there.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is a safer call, 100%. I think he could have blinked into the main, done some damage, and then tried to blink out or even recall. But I think especially when you get to these sized armies, you do have to seriously consider how much you actually physically can recall. It's not that big of a, what do you call it, cast. So that's always running in the back of their minds, not going to throw away the army when it's doing a decent enough job, just kind of poking and prodding anyways. And Krystianer should be feeling not great about the game, but like he's finally in charge of his own destiny. So maybe he can continue making moves, continue taking maybe better fights. That's what happened last game.
Especially when, like, the first game as well, Gerald kind of did the same thing. He's like, cool, open natural, dove in, and then it's like the back end of that fight led to him kind of losing the game. I can understand Krystianer's want to be a little bit kind of cautious, even if he feels like the army's currently out of position. He just doesn't want it to turn bad later down the line, as again, just having to chip away, pick away. We will lose that Oracle. The DTs get caught, and they're going to get chased down by some Zealots. Charge about to be done, so that attack is going to be sped up and actually get one of the DTs because of charge finishing right there.
Yeah, that was really nicely timed. I don't know if he... yeah, I guess it is just the safest thing to do. Well, he got 3 observers. Okay, I was wondering why an observer was there, because, you know, it's really not that uncommon for a Protoss player to get 1 observer, put it with the army, which, yeah, the DTs would not have been near, and then if they get a second one, maybe they put it on a map, right? So definitely not impossible for Krystianer's DT strike to have killed 12 probes in the natural before Gerald realized what was going on. But that worked out really perfectly, because then, of course, now he knows, okay, DTs are on the field. Let's go ahead and invest into the cannons, which is really not that much of an investment, as in it's not that costly for Gerald. He is 3-base saturated going to the 4th base, so it just was that reminder / confirmation. Let's make sure to defend our bases.
Yeah, just nice. And it means that we're going to stretch this game out to the Disruptor stage. Feels like both are going to get to Disruptors pretty okay. I mean, Krystianer's been pretty aggressive. I'd say Krystianer right now is lacking quite a bit of supply, and with a few Zealots heading through the top and actually getting by that group of Stalkers, that could be bad for him. Already down a bit on supply. If these Zealots start dealing damage, you know, maybe that snowballs a little bit just as we get into the Disruptor stage, and gives Gerald a chance to play what is a little bit of catch-up on the Disruptors. He's just got a couple less because his Robos are a little later.
Krystianer, with this dive towards Disruptors, he's finding himself very low on supply. So this is the scariest part. Yes, he needs to get to the Disruptors, make up for some of the losses he's taken across the board in this game. But if he does take a then slightly bad fight, and this is not it, actually, Gerald's the one taking a bad fight, leaving some Stalkers behind as he's distracted, I guess, from the War Prism. Yeah, exactly that. Then Krystianer could have been pushed into his natural, only had 3 Disruptors, which is an okay amount, but not, you know, totally perfect. And suddenly Gerald is a big old bully, just controlling the pacing, getting the 4th base canceled. With the fight going the way it did in the middle, Krystianer has plenty of time. He's going to have so many Disruptors. He's going to get his 4th base up and running. It is considerably later to Gerald's, but if Krystianer can take a lot of good trades, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. As couple cannons just coming through, then Gerald really just solidifying his base defense. And we do take a 5th base as Gerald, he wants to get set up on this left-hand side and just keep on pushing forward and just taking base after base. And, well, Krystianer starts to set up onto that 4th, so it's definitely looking pretty bad for him in that regard. And Gerald is now just maxed. I mean, that economy is clearly just going a long way for him. And with his own Disruptors, maybe not, you know, as many as Krystianer, but still some, it gives him a chance to maybe make something happen, and they are focused on moving up here. Now, Krystianer sees him moving this way. He saw it with the Observer, so kind of surprised it didn't send like a Disruptor or so forward initially and just try and find like a lucky shot, because he knew the army was coming this way anyway, and Gerald doesn't necessarily know that Krystianer knows.
Right. It's a bit about, I know that he knows. Detection, observing rather, actually very important here. I know Roddy was talking about the observer speed upgrade being really great to have in the situation, and don't disagree at all. Vision is important, and if you're forced to use a stalker to get that vision, that's not necessarily all that dependable. Gerald so far losing chunks of units, whereas Krystianer is not. And so he's just going to continue trying to push forward, trying to get more great shots, trying to find Gerald's army out of position. He's not necessarily doing that, but he is opening up opportunities like this. Yeah, okay, end up just taking out that Archon. But very close to finding more.
Yep, as not too much harassment going down. Krystianer does deal with that pretty nicely. Opening up this set of rocks, and he's been taking some good trades, Krystianer, and he kind of needed to, right? His bases were much slower to get online. Still is down a base here as he tries to get his own 5th base running now. Uh-oh, if Gerald knows this is here, the Disruptors. Oh, dear. Bye-bye.
Oh, yep. Krystianer had no idea the army was coming in from behind. Well, much more focus was making sure he didn't die going up that ramp to a Disruptor. That's 100% what he was focused on. So that could be what ends the game. Absolutely 0 Disruptors for Krystianer. Only 1 more on the way versus 9 of Gerald. Yeah, Krystianer's got to make this game as weird and wacky as possible. You know, mostly he's trying to buy some time. He hopes that Gerald returns home to deal with this. Then he can hopefully escape. But this is turning into a base trade. Robos are going to get destroyed at the very least. So Gerald's out of the ability to make more Disruptors, or perhaps more importantly... Oh, he's got a third Robo, doesn't he? Oh my gosh, he does. Yeah, so he's building Observers. So that was my next point. But the Observer is going to pop out. The Disruptors get recalled, and Krystianer is out of luck.
Yeah, these DTs are going to get rid of the base and going to try and get a Disruptor or 2 at the end. The Stalkers are like, okay, let's get this Nexus. And they're like, oh, we are the sandwich right now. They have to get out of there, so the Nexus gets to live. And yeah, obviously a very good, successful few moments. And Krystianer doesn't even make Gerald come across the map to win it. Gerald does tie the series 1-1. Big Disruptor shots on Disruptors to help him along the way.
Yeah, it's, you know, there are PvPs where that type of loss of Disruptors doesn't end the game. That's usually when the guy is, you know, also on a decent economy with a little bit of a bank, and they do buy a little time. But, you know, he was pretty broke. There really wasn't anything that Gerald had to be afraid of after killing all those Disruptors. So it just was an easier game on the side of Gerald to decide how to play that one out. And GG ties it up 1-1. Game 3 will be on the way, as we had pointed out in the last between game segment, I suppose. This is kind of important for Krystianer. If he goes 0-3, it's very unlikely he gets to top 4. He actually gets the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, if you go 0-3, and I mean, I imagine he has some tough matches still to play in this group as well. Further down the line, he still has to play a Laser, for example. He still has to play against Raynor. So, yeah, going 0-3 is really not looking good unless you feel like causing upset after upset. And even then, I mean, if you win everything from 0-3 or 4-3, and that's usually borderline. So, yeah, it definitely doesn't set you in a good place. So, a really important map here for Krystianer. If he's got playoff hopes on his mind, this is nigh on a must-win.
Right. I think that's what we can put it down to. With all the matches left, it's not looking good for Krystianer. So he needs to win this, and then, I mean, still need to win a little bit more, right? But, oh, it has to start here. Gerald would be putting himself into a closer position to get into top 4, but even that would not be guaranteed. We'll get more into the kind of guarantees next week as we wrap up the groups. But game 3 it is. Let's see what happens on Hardwire. Both of them exchanging blows, exchanging games and exchanging blows in that game. Krystianer was certainly the one that fell behind early, though, and never really quite caught up. He just gave himself moments and then didn't actually get to make a comeback. So we'll see if this time around he gets the early victory. Top rights for Team Blazer, Krystianer.
Bottom left in the red, this is Gerald.
Such a nasty disruptor. And it's also usual that a shot like that still has 1 or 2 disruptors left over. Like, to get all of them is so... It's unlikely. It's not impossible, obviously, but it is unlikely.
Also, you know, it's rough when Krystianer's clearly looking at his army in this scenario as well. Obviously a little bit ahead of his army this time around, but he's in that general area, and it's just, you notice that moment you laid, the panic sets in. It's like, what do I do? Do I fire back? Do I try, you know, there's almost no good option. And, you know, in the end, it's like, I'm just going to run and pray. And obviously didn't quite work out, but yeah, I mean, it's just tough to have the right response in that split second of looking back and realizing just what's going on.
Right. It really, yeah, I think you have the 1 second where your brain goes into overdrive and your heart as well, and you're just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what do I do? And then in the next second, I think you collapse almost. You just go, yeah, okay, I guess I'm dead. But Krystianer didn't collapse. He actually tried really hard to continue going. And like I had pointed out, really his best option was to go for the attack of the natural. That was the correct thing to do. It just was very easy for Gerald to kind of size up how to respond. You know, like, I think I have time. I think I'll be okay. Let's just wait a little bit. Okay, recall the disruptors. Boom, nailed it.
Yeah. Like, it was just well played by Gerald. He just needed to be careful, be patient, not give it away from there, and make sure that he had all the answers that he needed to close the game out. Take us to this one now, which is obviously game 3. And yeah, like we were saying, just a lot on the line for this game.
Yeah, not unimportant is also the money that is on the line for every single best of 3. 200 bucks for every win in this region is very important to the players. So as many wins as possible, man, if you can. So Krystianer, yeah, I already made cash just being in this tournament, but we know that he is absolutely a player that could take on many names in this group. It just has not been his day or his week, I should say, so far.
Yeah, it's feels like it's always the story of Krystianer in these DreamHack groups. He comes in and he's absolutely a potential, he's got an underdog with potential, right? He's a dangerous player to go up against. He can really take maps off almost anybody out there, maybe except the very top of the top, right? And so he absolutely could make a bid for playoffs. It's just he's not had that season yet where it's all come together, and this is another one of these seasons where it just doesn't feel as though it's going to be coming together, right? And yeah, it's a little bit sad because I really believe he's, like I say, he's got that potential to me to get to those playoffs one time at the very least in these DreamHack Masters. And like I say, I mean, if he wins today, it's still possible too. It's just, he must win right now if he wants that, unless, like I say, he's going to go out and beat up on Reno on a laser down the line, which would be incredible if he could. It's just unlikely.
And even if he did, it'd be like, way to go, man. I think you might still lose. I'm sorry. Yeah. So that's very, very unfortunate. Very stressful here for Krystianer, where Gerald has a little more leeway. Krystianer has made it into 1 playoffs of the DreamHack Regionals, by the way. Started off in the lower bracket, did not get very far there, but just to prove that he is, it's definitely possible for him to get into the playoffs, both players, and in a group like this. Absolutely. Fighting between... I guess fighting for the 4th spot, actually, because we do assume Spirit will take the 3rd. The 4th spot is wide open. Talked a lot about things that weren't happening in the game, and there is some action. It just isn't quite the game-deciding action of the previous 2, where the Oracle did a lot of damage, then the Adept did a lot of damage. And this time around, it is more of the, oh, well, these are big moments to the pros. These, Krystianer being down 3 workers might actually feel like game over, but then you look at the 2 oracles and you say, well, there's so much potential there. Clearly, that's not going to stay that situation. And then you look at the blink and you're like, well, that is a huge difference, and it absolutely is. Krystianer only just starting it. Again, he has the ability to make that comeback.
Oh, yeah. He really, really does. This is going to be seen after Stalkers moving forward. We'll actually try and get some damage done here. Maybe a distraction, and then the Oracles can dive into the mineral line if the Stalkers pull the other Stalkers forward. We've seen something similar with the Adepts in previous games, but yeah, you can see Gerald is so away. He's like, I don't want to run forward into you. I want to be back here to defend against the Oracles when they show up, and he is there. I got to say, that's a really smart defense from Gerald, because he's really just thinking ahead and saying, well, what could you be trying to get me to do by, fighting these Stalkers, as Oracles do end up doing okay still, but one of them goes down. So that's going to be more or less the end of Oracle harassment. But 8 probes is going to put Krystianer on that lead.
Gerald actually used a chrono boost that only affected the upgrade research for about 5 seconds, by the looks of things. Yeah. Which then made it so that Blink finished to chase down the Oracle. So I'm not criticizing. I just thought it was this really, I guess, funny decision. I am laughing at it a little bit, but it worked out. It worked out really well. So now he's putting the chronos into the observers. It does seem like Gerald loves opening up with even 3 observers every single time. I noticed when he lost one last game, he was very insistent on remaking to, again, a total of 3. And this is actually, not defendable. No shield battery, arm out of position. That was a quick victory for Gerald, who also supply blocks Krystianer. Krystianer needs a couple of things that are going his way.
Yeah, he is going to be trying to chase down those stalkers, but he's going to start blinking it back. There's one Oracle coming into the base, playing more scouting than anything. It's unlikely he can do much. Maybe could have snuck down a stasis ward. As these two Adepts got by, that's what Krystianer had to go deal with instead of chasing stalkers down. Boy, is Krystianer just so late on that third in comparison to Gerald. And to be fair, I mean, he was playing off that later set of bases in that last game as well, and he made it competitive, but just feels like he's once again, uphill battle, right? Just doing it the hard way.
Oh. Juked when it was a jive. Oracle will barely stay alive. Krystianer is actually looking for some openings. Maybe the Immortal? Nah, no, not enough. But 17 stalkers at 13 in Krystianer's favor, all of them coming across the map right now. He wants to find something, maybe get the shield battery, which leads into a couple of probe losses. Maybe the Immortal is snipeable, something like that, because he is the one needing to make the moves, needing to make something help his comeback potential. And there is the Immortal looking a little vulnerable. Gerald, I think, saw the future for a second there and knew that would be snipeable, so he just pops the overcharge just to save it.
Why the heck not? Just play it safe. No need to take the risk if it's unnecessary, you know? I like that decision. I think that's very smart, very responsible decision to be making. And, yeah, I mean, moving on, we just got ourselves a Krystianer who is finally up to 3 bases. The Oracle gets in over here and gets a probe or so. That's nice. Just, again, keeping damage going. And Gerald's actually down. Good chunk of workers now. Oracle at least goes down, so that's some reprieve for Gerald now. And, well, it's going to come with a bunch of stalkers that are coming forward here. And he's going to lose some stalkers, Gerald, because, well, Krystianer knew exactly where they were.
Only loses 1 when it looked possible to lose all 3. Even if he had, though, 2 Immortals really do help make up for what is currently a 5 stalker difference. Could have been, yeah, 8s. Would have been a little sketch, but yep, it is good to go. Krystianer did a great job picking off probes over the last couple of minutes. 16 probes in total haven't gone down, but because it's been overtime, because it was in situations where Gerald had already been winning in the economy, it just often doesn't matter as much. Although if I look at the income advantage, I'm a little surprised to see that there are so many peaks, so much more blue than red. Although not by a considerable amount. Anyways, Gerald still was able to use his temporary income lead anyways at some points to get those 2 Immortals, which are going to really help out against the Stalkers. They do start to lose their value if, well, they die, first of all. And then second of all, if they're up against charge lots. One of them gets sniped, but ooh, a little bit of a clapback there from Gerald on the chase, on the hunt, takes on a couple of Stalkers. Now with a Warp Prism, might go ahead and make the move across the map. He chronos the charge one more time, and I think he can hit with charge. No Templar Archives, but instead of Dark Shrine, could choose to add on some Archons in that fashion too. But it looks like not going to really dedicate here.
Yeah, not going to go for it, as we do have more Stalker skirmish in the middle. There's Warp Prism. Oh my goodness. Gerald is like so desperate to get it. He maybe could have blinked 2 Stalkers forward only and like they die, but at least you get the Prism, and that fully shuts down the attack. As now we are going to be seeing Gerald with his own counters. So he's going to hit the 4th, he's going to hit the main, and it's DTs in the main base as well. So that's going to be a major distraction of Krystianer as he wants to just focus on this fight.
Krystianer has 1 observer, and it is currently with the army, but just pointed out, I wonder if Gerald's going to have to try and go for the snipe. It is an option if he is desperate. He knows he's doing a lot of damage on the other side of the map, so all he would need is a couple of warped-in DTs to hold the line. But I think Krystianer is also very keen on that. He knows that that is a problem, keeping the observer back, keeping the Warp Prism back as well, as that is vulnerable, and trying to just buy that time, take care of things at home as calmly as possible. But the home issue is a big one. Upgrade's going to be delayed by looks of things, and Krystianer is not going to find that attack on the front lines like he was hoping for. So Gerald CT's finding success, but he's behind now on that 4th base, so he's got to do something too. Can't just defend here.
Yeah, it was a little unlucky as we do lose the Prism now. The Stalker's playing forward, a decisive move. We are going to lose the Observer of Gerald, which means the Observer of Krystianer will be safe, so DTs can't do too much, as the DTs across the map from Gerald are not really doing too much either. And it looks like the Super Battery was holding on there for Krystianer. We'll see if that's still the case, as Krystianer's trying to back away. He was paying a lot of attention back at home. Again, you can see on the mini-map now where the players are looking at any point in time. It's really cool in moments like this to see what exactly they're wanting to prioritize overall. because there was a moment there where Krystianer was like, no, 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 let's just make sure I'm not dying over here. Let's not let this fall apart. I'm fine on the map. Let's just not let him get too much done and let it snowball back at home.
Right. A little bit of a too long of a wait in the middle of the map. Lost him a couple extra units, and an Archon wasn't really involved in the fight, but still able to retreat, I think, enough. Most importantly, to hold on. He was down an upgrade for a little bit of time too, but that would be finishing up in about 20 seconds. Gerald adds on his 4th base, not just going to all in from here on out, going to try and catch up on that economy, and then also get on top of the disruptor transition. Actually, with this snipe on the Nexus, he has absolutely caught up on the economy. He is going to have the much better mining compared to Krystianer in just 30 seconds here. And again, getting to the disruptors. Worked out very well for him last game. War Prism of Gerald still alive too, still being just the littlest bit of a bother. So Gerald knows that he has more time to get to disruptors. That really is the key thing here. Only 1 robo, but he gets the jump start.
Yeah, being able to just start first is obviously a huge deal, and I think 1's fine for now. He can add a 2nd whenever he feels comfortable, and that shouldn't be too far off, right? I mean, about 60 probes. He does have 4 bases coming back online now, so yeah, there is robo number 2. It was definitely going to be one of his big priorities if disruptors are his goal. He will have a disruptor then to help deal with this first wave of Krystianer coming across the map and looking to deal damage. Batteries and cannons are going to create a pretty nice line. Super battery immediately. Why the heck wouldn't you? And there's just more Archons here, so never mind the disruptor. Army that currently stands at the front there alone. Gerald just looked better and stronger. Yeah,
Krystianer had, I think, at the time, 8 more Zealots, but was down in Archons, and, you know, 8 more Zealots, 13 more Zealots now. It's just not really going to be able to bust that many Archons of Gerald, plus all the stack defense that he had. Krystianer biting off more than he can chew, and Gerald is eager to punish him for it. Another Archon falls. The War Prism, very snipeable. Krystianer, yeah, is going to try and take the best fight possible, because it looks like he's setting up for an arc, but it's a terrible fight no matter what he does.
He just walked himself. He was, like, trying to get away, but he just couldn't, so he ends up running into like this edge. There goes the prism, and this is a crushing fight in favor of Gerald. He's going to be taking down everything. Krystianer tries to reinforce it. He sees it. He knows it. You can see his reaction on the camera. That's